Hello and welcome back. So I'm going to take another crack at this. I'm in the middle of resetting the game so we can start again. So far all I've done was I reset this part. Now the resetting of this game is actually a little bit painful because a lot of pieces moved around. So now we got to revert everything back. So I'm taking the B Rancheria, putting it back, and then of course putting those back. And our 3 strength markers are going to go away. I'm pretty sure of that. I think we only start with 4 horses. I will check in a second. 1, 2, 3, 4. We definitely don't start with guns or food. And I'll check everything else in a second. Our Rancheria A starts here. I don't know where this bison goes, so we'll put it there for now. And we know this settlement isn't there, so I put that away. I also put the yellow settlement away. Oh, so there's 2 green settlements. We got to put that one away too. Okay, let's go through it real quick. Spain is in the west and the south. And oh, by the way, I was asking, and somebody thank you to the person who answered. They said that when we switch history cards, it tells you right here which countries go where. So obviously in the next era, it's going to be the same. But then in this era, you'll see that Texas shows up in the east, and then it's still Spain. And then here you can see it switches to Mexico, America. So those don't come in until the very final historical card. So that was really helpful. If it is in the rule book, I just never found it anywhere, and it was really bothering me. How do I know? Okay, so Rancheria A goes into space 1, which we did. All right, so here's where we gotta be careful. Upper Arkansas 4 and 5 gets a tribe. So we're gonna grab 2 of these, and Upper Arkansas 4 and 5 get a tribe. Okay, then Llano Estacado 2 and 6. There's 2 and there's 6. Rio Grande 1, 2, 5 and 6. So Rio Grande 1, 2, 5 and 6. Brazos, Colorado, 2 and 4. And there they are, 2 and 4. And Red River, 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. And Lower Arkansas, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, got them. Then a bison goes into every empty space. So these bison should just go everywhere else. So we're just placing them out. There's one there, one there, there. There's 2 more. Yeah, every bison is on the board. So you should have 0 in your resource pile. And you should have 1 extra tribe here. Okay, in the resource boxes, we get 3 2-strength band counters, 4 horses, the bob counter, and Rancheria A, of course. So 3 of the 2-strength counters are going to go here. We have the 4 horses. And then it says that the Paribo and Bob medicine goes to 2. So we'll move those down to 2. And we start with 3 military, 3 culture, and 1 AP. So 3 and 3. That's going to be 0. That's 1, and that's 0. Obviously, both of these go up to 0. Now, what's interesting is see that little war instruction? I still don't know what causes that to come into the game. I'm being told it's a card. We just never drew it yet, I guess. And then as far as the development cards go, we have our 1, 2, and 3 again, just like last game. I reshuffled, and so let's talk strategy for a second. The disease card sort of hurt us. I did look into the development deck because I was curious, like what kind of cards are in there. Is it always good cards? Is it always bad cards? There's several disease cards in there. So the chances of getting a disease card is actually quite high. And so we're just gonna have to, be ready for it. Well, let's finish with the setup before I continue talking strategy. But Culture cards. So we get to select a level 1 culture card. Let's talk about that. And then we have their history card already in place. So we're actually ready to go as far as play goes. Okay, so strategy. As you know, we hit the victory condition. We were ready to satisfy the victory condition, but we lost because we ran out of military points first. And then that just kept sucking the culture points away. And then eventually we lost culture points and then lost the game. I think there was two takeaways strategy-wise that I've learned from our first playthrough. The first one was, if you remember during the passage of time, there's one step in there where if there's a ravage counter on a tribe, which is one of these, or a settlement, which is one of these, right? They're destroyed. So if you can somehow, now remember, most of the instructions, whenever the enemies execute their instructions, it says if there's a ravage counter, it gets to heal, right? So every time the enemy takes an instruction, they're healing themselves basically. And it's only when they're fully healed do they actually do the instruction. And but if we can somehow make it where there's a ravage token on just one thing, then what happens is that tribe or that settlement gets destroyed automatically. And in fact, if it's on multiple things, they all get destroyed. But here's the key thing. You need it on at least one, or otherwise it penalizes you by taking a military point away. Well, that penalty of losing the military point, that's 2 culture points. Once your military points goes to 0, I mean, it's a big deal. Let's just put it that way. And it happened to us twice, right? So we lost 2 military points that way. And then of course so step 1 of my lessons learned is we need to have ravage tokens out there, okay? Because that caused us to lose 2 military points, all right? Now, that also leads into step 2 of my lessons learned is how did I lose the 3rd military point? Well, I lost it because our Rancheria was getting attacked by warbands. And at minimum, you have to lose 1 military point to defend yourself, or you lose 2 military points, right? And then you can just, you sort of get ransacked or whatever. But the point in all this is that when the warbands make it to your Rancheria, you're losing military points. That's bad. So you add both of those up, that's how we got slaughtered, right? We lost a lot of military points that way. So I was looking into, okay, what technology do I want to start with? Like I think these are called culture cards. We went with trade, which gave us guns. I think, obviously, the America thing was funny, but I don't think it's a priority. It was nice, but I learned that when you trade, unless you're trading with a peace space, which requires an ally, you have to spend action points to get those guns. So you really want to have captives and, well, actually, you get the guns no matter what. But the point I'm trying to say is we didn't use them once, the guns. And because we started losing culture points, we lost the ability to get more guns if we, So they weren't that important, is what I'm ultimately getting at. I probably could have used them smarter than I did. I think the idea was on the right track. Let's put it that way. I just don't think it was necessarily the priority for the start. So with that being said, the horsemanship level 1 is solid. +1 battle DRM would have actually saved us one of our battles. We would have actually not lost one of our Rancherias if we had this +1 DRM. I really like it. I don't want to poo-poo that. However, I went through them, and there's a few that I really like that are coming to the surface for me. One, let's just go through real quick. The tactics, a 4th ravage counter immediately removes the tribe. It's very similar to that card we start the game with, except it's like a permanent thing, right? Not too excited about it. And then once you get to level 2, you spend a movement point while in the same space as a war column, and it just lets you get to reveal the top card of the war deck, so you can sort of like peek ahead and get information that you normally wouldn't have. Again, it's nice to have. I'm not thrilled with it, so tactics is low on my priority. The diplomacy is not bad. I mean, I'm always tempted whenever you have a designer that thinks that diplomacy is so powerful that the first one is just a waste. So you have to like buy the first one just to be able to get to the second one. But I'll let you read it. It says you get to flip the topmost instruction counter during the planning phase. So you have to execute the planning step in any one column. This can be helpful because if we know a culture is coming, right? Like we did with the West, right? We knew that that culture was going to ruin us. Well, if the culture was on top like it was for a little while, we can just flip it. However, the planning step is very difficult to execute because the planning step has things that punish you if you do it too much. So I actually find this to be weak. I mean, it can be helpful, but it's weak. So I think the designer put way too much power or too much, I don't know. He thinks that this is powerful, but it's not. And then this last one is we can remove a piece or ally instruction and basically execute it, the enemy instruction ourselves, and basically make an ally whenever we want. Now, maybe this is where he thinks the power comes from. I don't see the power yet in that, but I mean, I guess, you can make somebody an ally, right? And boom, they can't do anything. And I can force a peace with like Texas and I think maybe that's where the power is, right? Is I can make a major power come to peace with us through diplomacy. All right, I can see that. I can see where the power is here, but you got to get all the way to level 3. That's not an early game strategy. So I'm going to set that aside, and it's out. Politics was interesting. During step 7 of the planning op, the player may move one allied tribe to an... So you can move allied tribes. Not that great. Player may remove an allied tribe to the stock. So you just get rid of them. And then you replace them with a band that's on your side. That's a little better. And here you can spend a culture point before rolling on the enemy action table, and we get to choose which enemy we activate. There's a lot of control with this. This is pretty powerful, but again, it's a long-term thing. All right, the trade we already tried, and then the level 2 and level 3 is just a little bit better. And of course here it's pretty cool because you gain culture points. I was a little bit allured by that, but we never even got close to being able to buy a level 3 culture. All right, warfare is interesting, and I was heavily considering this because I believe, what was our 2 learning points? The first one was we need to ravage, right? And then the second one was the enemy war bands really caused a lot of problems for us. So I thought, okay, well then I want to go to war with them, right? I'm not as thrilled with this. So during the take actions, if we're in the same space as a tribe or a settlement, we can spend movement points equal to its strength and make a success check. For each success drawn, we place a ravage counter on it. So here we don't even have to do a raid. We can just spend movement points equal to the strength of our unit. And we can have like a strength 1 unit, right? We can have one of these, and you can basically spend 6 movement points, right? And 6 times you're drawing a success check, and to put a ravage counter on. So you can really ravage a settlement that way. It's not bad. I don't want to poo-poo it. This is definitely a contender. And then here during a raid or a warpath action, if we're making a success check, we get to draw an extra one from the cup. Again, helpful. And then here, during a raid or a warpath action, if we have at least 1 success counter, we can place a bonus ravage counter on. So this is all about ravaging settlements, which I think is nice. But remember, our enemy is the warband, not the settlement. So don't hate the game, hate the player. That kind of thing. So it's the warband that I want to take out, and this doesn't help me with warbands. So, so I was getting... So here's where I landed. Because as you can see, I intentionally omitted 2 stacks. I fell in love with these two. Spirituality and Lord of the Plains. Spirituality is just a really cool one because I told you I was frustrated with the way the medicine track worked. Here, when determining the medicine rating of a new headman, we get to roll 2 dice and use the highest die roll. Well, that's awesome. And that's level 1. I mean, fantastic. And we did this many times. So just even in our short game where we had our asses kicked, this was something that can help us, right? So in terms of bang for the buck, this helps you from the right out of the gate. Okay, then, if you get to level 2, and by the way, there's no requirement. You don't have to, buy deep. You can buy this one, and then we can go buy a level 1 of something else. But I usually try to make sure that there's a pathway here. So the next one is during the planning phase, which once again, remember, that's the one that punishes us. So we're not going to get to do this as often as you think. We roll a die. If it's greater than the current medicine rating, our acting Paraibo gets a +1. So we just get an automatic bump to him if we roll the die, right? So this is a very lucky thing. If successful, it's just saying you can't do it again until another planning operation in the future. Now, granted, this is per rancheria, so we can do this for one rancheria, then go to another one and do it. And then here, when a Paraibo attempts to carry out the headman action, remember, you have to roll a die to see if you get bonus headman actions. Here, you get to roll 2 dice, and you get to choose the best result, which is helpful, because when we rolled the die, remember, we failed, and we didn't get any actions at all, because we rolled too high. Spirituality path is pretty darn good. I am very much liking this one. I think this can be very helpful. However, it was my runner-up. And so I'm going to set it aside, and we are going to try Lord of the Plains. Lords of the Plains. I'm sorry, I got to read. Now, that just sounds badass just from the start. I mean, we're the Comanche. We're Lords of the Plains. Urgh. You have to grunt whenever you read that. So right here, during step 2 of the war column phase, so this is when the enemy war bands are activating, we can evade them. So not quite as helpful, okay? So the spirituality one helps us right out of the gate. This one, not so much. It's basically saying we can evade, so our war band can evade their war band, or I'm sorry, our bands can evade their war bands. So if they're trying to attack our bands, we can just roll a die. We have to get a good die roll, of course, but we could just move away and say neener, neener. Okay? Not as helpful. However, let's go to level 2. So we would have to wait until the first passage of time to be able to buy this. But if I have enough culture points, this is our goal. Okay? And here's why. I can harass. It's an action. So let's just use this guy as our example. When our 1 strength guy with 6 movement points comes into the same space as the war column. By the way, the horse ones are pretty good too. There's a really nice horse one that lets you move 2 spaces, but let's get back to this. So I have 6 movement points, right? I can spend 2 movement points while in the same space as a war column. I keep calling them war bands. They're war columns. But not an enemy space, which all that means is it can't be at their settlement or their tribe. It has to be when they're out in the plain where there's only a bison. So I spend 2 movement points. Their strength is reduced by 1 automatically. No dice rolls, nothing. Just boom. We get to say screw you. And if it reduces all the way to 0, the war ends. So as these war columns, I keep calling them war bands. If these war columns are moving towards us, we can send out our little 1-strength dudes and basically just burn all of our movement points on the war column and just reduce the crap out of it until it's 0. And so therefore it never gets to our rancheria and we never lose military points fighting them because we make them go away before they ever arrive. I like this. I like Pizza Steve. So we're going to try this. Now, this requires us to burn 2 culture points. But if you think about this, if we lose 1 military point because a war column made it to our Rancheria and we were out of military points, that's 2 culture points anyway. So it's the equivalent of what we were already losing in the last game. But that's the idea, is we need a lot of culture points, of course, to pull this off. And then you need to have at least 2 culture points before you can use this, right? If I'm ever lower than 2, this action is no longer available to me, but that's what I'm going to try to do. So I am choosing Lords of the Plains, and I'm going to take that as our freebie. And then hopefully we will have 2 culture points at the end of our first passage of time, so we can take the level 2. I do not plan on doing the evade very often, so this is sort of a waste, but it's just like this diplomacy one. You know, you have to take the crappy one to get to the better ones, right? So that's what we're going to try to do. So sorry for the long-winded explanation, but if you're watching a second playthrough of this, I think you're watching it for the purposes of learning and getting deeper into strategy, and I hope you appreciated that conversation. So without further ado, let's get cracking. We got our 3. Let's remind ourselves what they do. This one is saying that while war and subjugate instructions, they have no effect, right? So this is very helpful. So I think we did the right idea. We're going to raid the crap out of them. And by raiding and raiding and raiding, it doesn't matter if they have a bunch of APs to spend. They spend them on these silly actions and nothing actually happens. So I like it, and I'm going to take advantage of that. I liked my strategy where I traded and basically got all the food possible. I think that was an excellent strategy, and having the leftover food like we did was not a bad thing at all. It actually was really helpful, because when the second passage of time happened, we weren't able to go out and get food because we got stuck in that culture loop. This is actually, I thought that was a solid strategy. One other thing I'm thinking is it was a solid strategy. Now, granted, the designer recommended it. Having the second Rancheria here in Lower Arkansas, that was a solid strategy. I'm actually thinking I want to try to get 2 Rancherias going before the first passage of time. So I'm going to park one guy here and park another guy there, and let's see if we can get 2 Rancherias up. And what that means is when I do a culture action, I'm going to get 4 culture points instead of just 3. I'm greedy, baby. Let's get more. So that's a tall order. Can I do all this all at once? I mean, I'm talking about all these great goals. You can tell I work for a corporation, because we set all these, and you can tell I'm in management, because we set all these ridiculous goals and then we ask our employees to do it and try to tell them how easy it is. That's what we do. So, unfortunately, it is me who is the employee this time, and I need to figure this out. This one, of course, is situational. If we have the APs and we're able to spend during the planning step, we may try this. This designer likes gambly stuff. He explained that the Comanches like to gamble, so that's why he put a lot of this in there. But it is frustrating because you go through all this trouble and then you fail. Here, after completing a player action, yeah, if there's 3 or more ravaged, it gets removed. Obviously, that's only going to be in effect for this first round, and it is a nice way to get rid of these tribes. But now that we know that during the passage of time they get rid of them anyways, I'm not as excited about this one. Okay, so off we go to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. And as you know, we're going to skip the war column phase, which I was always sad about. But now that I've experienced the war column phase, I'm extremely happy that we're skipping that. We go to operation. Somebody did ask a question in the YouTube. So they asked a question because I did the take action step, and they were like, hey, I think you missed the culture and planning step. I want to point out that the player must conduct, we select one. And whatever one we select, we don't do the other ones. So it's not like I get to do all of these every turn. So I wanted to clarify that. I know I answered it on the YouTube, and maybe he saw it, maybe he didn't. But in case you didn't see it and you're still watching, I just wanted to point out. So if I select this one, I don't get to do these two or even these three. If I select this one, I don't get to do those three. You know, I only get to do one of the 4 of these, and this one has all kinds of restrictions on when I can do it. Okay. I guess there is a reason to do this, but most of the time we're going to be doing these 3. Okay, so for the first turn, it makes no sense to plan, at least to me. Someone recommended doing culture. That would give me 1 point and put me at 4, and that would make it so I'm poised to be able to buy this level 2 card. Now the reasoning behind it was, when I take actions, it gives the enemy action points right away, because I'm usually raiding, right? So if I go off and I raid and I do a bunch of nonsense, I am putting ravage tokens on the board and all that stuff, but I'm giving the enemy many turns to remove those ravage tokens. So it might be better to raid like closer to the end, because then I can, you know, get those ravage tokens out there, and the enemy doesn't have as many opportunities to remove them. It's a neat idea. I still hate only getting 1 culture point. But in this first passage of time phase, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get more than 1 culture point anyways. I can't build new rancherias until passage of time occurs. So I'm not going to get extra culture points from that. And the only way I'm going to get an extra culture point is if I eliminate both of the tribes, which I've already told you was my strategy was to more put ravage points on them instead of trying to eliminate them. So I'm actually going to follow the advice somebody gave, and I'm going to do a culture step. So, and the reason being is, by doing the culture step, we are securing our ability to spend 2 culture points later and not be precariously low, right? That's the first reason. So we can get the other card that we want. And then the second reason is the enemy doesn't get any APs from this. So we're going to move the operations track down. We don't have to do a roll. And then for the enemy, the first thing is they're going to roll a die against all finished bands. We have no finished bands, so the enemy doesn't get a free instruction. The only thing the enemy gets is we're going to draw, and if I draw an AP thing from here, they'll get that. So let's hope we just draw a success. And of course we didn't. We drew a 4. So they do get to do something, and so let's find out what they're going to do. I rolled a 2, and that's the north, which not good. And I rolled a 3, which means 1, 2, 3. We flip this one over. And they are going to get to do a raid. So they have a raid step here. And because we didn't put any ravage tokens on them, that's actually going to create a warband. Oh my gosh, this is backfiring on us amazingly bad. Maybe we shouldn't listen to our YouTubers anymore. Let's see this. Step 3, place raid instruction into the same space as a randomly chosen non-allied tribe nearest to the rancheria, and place a North War column counter, strength equals the AP cost of the raid token, into that space. Yeah, that was bad. I should have raided. Because if I would have raided, they would have had ravage tokens on them, and this step would have skipped the raid. So this is putting a war column out, which is going to make us lose military points. Okay, so I'm going to back up. We're just going to start the game over. And I'm not going to change anything. This is still going to be what I draw. We're still going to have to resolve that. But I'm just not doing the culture step on my first turn. I mean, I'll do it on the second turn, maybe. So we're going to do the actions instead, which is what I was originally thinking maybe we could do. So let's do that. So we're going to put these here, and yes, we're going to go raid. And the reason I'm recommending that now is because if we draw north, look at this. The raid is the very first thing they do. And we need to put ravage tokens out there so they don't create a warband right away. I think that's more valuable. And so let's do that. Okay, so as you can see, this guy's not going to get to do anything. This one we're going to send out and have him hunt. And I think we figured out that it's, for example, it's 2 movement points to go out and back, and then it's 3 more to get the bison. So that's what he's going to do. And then he's finished. And then this one here is taking Bob. And of course we're taking a horse. And so did the other guy. So let's do that. Didn't mean to rush it too much. So now we're taking Bob and the horse. And it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But the raid is going to be the 5th movement point. So he's going to do a raid. And we're going to roll for Bob. And I rolled a 6, which means we don't get crap from Bob. But we are going to get to draw 2. Success and success. That is actually really good. So Bob gets 2 successes on his track here, the medicine track. And that means we get to take 2 things, and we've learned our lesson. We're taking captives. So I'm going to take 2 captives, and then of course we're heading back home, and then the ravage marker, of course, goes onto the tribe. Now, we already know that because of what we rolled and all this stuff, they're going to execute the raid and they're going to heal this ravage marker. So I'm just going to put it right back in the box. But we do have one more thing we got to do. We now have 2 finished tribes there, so we do have to roll and see if they get a free instruction. And I rolled a 3, and they don't. So everything's staying the same. They just executed 2 action points here, and then they actually have 2 more left. So we're going to just give them 2 action points over here, and they're done. And I need to make sure I didn't accidentally throw stuff in the wrong cup. All right, so I hope that makes sense. Of course, we're going to start over. This was like the very first turn of the game, and it wasn't going well, and I didn't want a war column out there in the first turn of the game. That was going to cause all kinds of trouble for us. So change the strategy. The culture for the very first turn is a no. But I do like the idea. So especially now, I really like the idea because the raid is not there anymore. Although we turned over this one, and see, this is another raid. So got to be a little careful. All right. We now relinquish our resources. Ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ling. And we have our 2 captives there and our bison. We're good to go. Just doing a real quick check. We were supposed to do that before, of course, everything else, but that's fine. So now we're back to the beginning. We go to the war column phase. So obviously, if we would have stuck with our original plan, there'd be a war column moving around and harassing us by now. So I'm sort of glad we're not dealing with that. So now we go to the operation selection phase. Okay, so now we could do the culture thing. And yes, there is a raid here, but I feel good that we still got a few turns. So I'm going to do that now. We're going to do the culture thing now. So now I'm going to go up to 4. And yes, we still have to draw this. And yes, it may give them action points, but let's see what happens. And yes, they got 2. And then there's 2 more there, so they have 4. So let's put it down. Let's roll. I rolled a 5. This time it's the west. And then I rolled a 1. And so their subjugate flips over to war, which sounds bad, but it's going to burn 4 APs, which we have, because there's 2 off the camera. But as you know, war is ignored in the beginning, so that actually worked out quite well. So we burned all their APs, and it just moved straight to the bottom. Obviously, we don't like that guy, but we'll have to deal with that when it comes. So our turn ended. One thing I forgot to do is we got to move that down. Okay, so now we're on our third turn. Again, we skip the war column. And so what are the things we need to do? So we're going to do some more actions. We need to do a planning step somewhere in here because the planning step is important. And then we need to basically move to a place where we're ready to start our new rancherias because we're going to possibly have a passage of time. So at minimum, we have 2 more turns, this turn and 1 more. We could have even more than that, but it all depends on the dice and how that works in our favor. So, and it would have been nice to get a trade in too, right? So we got a lot of things we're trying to do here. We want to plan, we want to do stuff, and we want to trade. I think what I want to do right now is I want to do, So here's what's going through my mind. When you plan the units that are here, they all get reduced in strength. But if I can do a plan while none of them are home, so they're all out, they don't lose their strength. So, so the idea there is if I can move them out to form a new rancheria, right? So they're waiting to make a new rancheria. Then I do the plan after that. Then I'm good to go. And I told you I wanted to make 2 rancherias, not just 1. So I could move 2 of them out to do that. But when I do an action step, I only get 2 actions. So I also need to raid and trade. And those are things I need more. I need people. You know, I need bands to do all those things. So I need more actions. I need more things. So I may have to settle for just getting 1 rancheria for now and not 2. And I know that sounds a little bad, but I think that's what I have to do. So, and then of course, when I do the planning step, that allows me to move my rancheria to number 2 there, which makes it easier to raid, so I can raid more and do more stuff. So I think what I'm going to do then is I'm going to plan now with just 2 successes. We're just going to do a plan step because moving the rancheria closer is going to help us from a movement perspective. And I think it's going to move my Paraibo up, so then I can activate all 3 of these next turn. So let's go ahead and do the plan. I know it hurts us, but I think we're going to be fine. And if I could ever trade for the food, we're going to be very fine. That's, of course, going to require us to get more actions, but the dice are going to dictate that. So let's do planning. So each Bob with 1 success in his medicine track gets a +1. So he goes to a 3. Then we select rancheria that's in play with a Bob that has at least 1 success on his track. That's rancheria A. We're going to transfer 1 to the Paraibo track. Done. And then if we have another one, he gets another +1, and it goes to the operation track. So this will go to the operation track, and we're going to go ahead and put that right there, and that'll put it back in the cup. Okay, so then we just keep repeating, but we're out of successes, so there's no more to do. Then in each rancheria with 1 success in the Paraibo track, he goes up +1 per success, and then it goes out of play. So he gets a +1, and then this goes to out of play. All right. So then we get to do actions. So if we roll less than or equal to his medicine's a 3. So it's a 50-50 chance, 1, 2, or 3. We get to take a number of actions equal to the die roll. So we could possibly get more than 1 action. This is the mistake I made last time, right? Because we failed. And then if you have to think about it, of the 3 results, one of them is only going to be 1 action. So there's only going to be 2 chances, or 2 possibilities that's going to give me more than 1 action. So I think this time around, I'm going to just take the one action that we get automatically. We're not going to gamble. So if his medicine is 2 or more, I can subtract his medicine by 1 to give me an AP. That sounds great, but I wanted him to be at a level 3 so we can activate all 3 of our guys. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. We can spend APs to buy that development card, which we could then turn around and destroy a tribe with. I don't know if I want to do that. I know we need to eliminate these tribes in order to win the game. It'll give us more culture points when we do a cultures thing. Let's look at our other options. We can spend an AP to put that success that's out of play back into the cup. That's not a bad idea. And if our culture is greater than our military, we can spend 1 culture into a military point. I like it. That's actually not an awful idea. And to be honest, it's the only way you get military points. This is a hard decision. If we take that card and remove a tribe, that does help us with our goals. And we have to do it now because that card's going to go away at the end of this phase. You know what? We still don't have a culture. So the reason I need to get rid of these tribes is so we can have a culture engine going, right? We want to, every time we do a culture action, we want it to be as efficient as possible. We want it giving us 4 points, not just 2 or 1. Because if we're getting a lot of culture every time we do the action, we're being more efficient, correct? So I'm going to spend the AP to take a gamble on this. And although, look here, I can place a 3-strength band into any space. That's actually sort of cool. So we can get a free band. I didn't even think about that. What could that do for us? If I made that into a space which is the Comancheria space, then it's one of ours. Like we can control it. And that's actually sort of a cool idea. You get a 3-strength band for doing nothing really. Or we can remove the tribe or settlement, which is something we've always, well, I'm not going to spend it now anyway, so we'll just set it aside. Let's finish our steps here. So we're going to roll a die for each Bob that's in play with a medicine rating of 0, which we don't have. So we're going to move on. All finished bands' strength is reduced by 1 and marked as unfinished. That's interesting. So the planning step hurt us because we had 2 finished bands. So technically speaking, I was a little bit wrong. It doesn't hurt all of our bands. It's only the finished bands. So that's okay. These 1-strength bands have 6 movement points. That's actually very helpful. And they are going to be the ones that are going to go out and hunt and start the new rancherias for us. Hey, before you go up, that's what I was referring to right there. Thank you. Say hi to millions of people.
Hello.
Yeah, millions. All 4 of you. Okay, so that's not having a 6 movement point band is not the end of the world. There's actually benefit to that. Okay, so let's keep going. The player, now obviously, if we did another planning step and then those 1 movement point or 1 strength bands get destroyed, that's catastrophic. Like we don't want them to be reduced to 0. Okay, the player may move the rancheria based on the number of strength points. So we can move 4 points, but we're not allowed to move through a tribe. And then this is where we can get really interesting. Can I play this card right now and remove a tribe before I move the Rancheria. Ooh, when exactly can I play these? Let's look that up. Oh. When a card is played from hand, it is discarded unless the card text says otherwise. Cards may be played from hand at any time except during passage of time. Boom. So right there, play from hand. This is where I got it from. So anytime except for passage of time. Well, we're in the planning step, so we're going to play it right now. So big bucks, no whammies. If I get a 3 through a 6, we're going to remove a tribe. Let's do it. Big bucks, no whammies. Stop. No! Oh, come on. You suck. All right. That's twice now that's happened to us. All right. Well, why was I so excited about this? The reason I was excited is I could have destroyed this, and then we could have moved our Rancheria all the way over. And then we would have been like safer, at least for a long time, because we're further away from, stuff that's this direction. Or I could have, moved it here, and then we're in the thick. We can go in multiple directions, right? Instead, I'm stuck moving there, which puts us further removed. It's not quite as ideal, but it is what it is, and we're going to play the game. So this game definitely has some dice rolling, you live and die by the dice thing. So now, if I would have gotten trade goods first before I tried to use that card, then I could have played one to re-roll a die, and this would have been a perfect opportunity. So, can't have everything. So here we go. We move there. The enemy does get to execute a free instruction, and then we're going to roll a die, but we don't actually roll a die because that's going to move up, and then this goes in a cut. Now, technically, the enemy executes the free instruction first, but we're fine. There's no impact there. All right, so it's a 5, so it's the west enemy, which is the crap. So we need to roll 1. Come on, make up for the crappy roll last time. Oh, it's a 6. All right, so this war flips over, and yes, they're going to punish us with a culture. And it was a free step. And so, yes, we lose 1 culture. So that culture point we took all that time to gain, we just lost. All right. The game just doesn't want us to do well. All right, now we're done with the action, and unfortunately, we got to now, the enemy may get to go again. So we're doing a success check for the enemy. So let's see what we get, and we drew a success. So enemy doesn't do anything. They don't have any action points, so nothing happens. Now we're finally at the end of that turn. So we go back to the beginning. There's no war bands or war columns. Got to use the right terminology. And now we're going to do actions. Absolutely, we have to do actions. In fact, we hope we can do actions 2 turns in a row here. And we got to get some raids in, and we got to get some hunting in. So what we're going to do is we're going to line them up like this, and all 3 of them are going to go out. I can already tell you all 3 are going to get horses. And we're going to put Bob with the 2 strength unit. And this is where the 3 strength unit might have helped us. So that, I wish I had that card back now and just given us a 3 strength unit. That would have been way more helpful. And I think what I'm going to do is one of these 1 strength units, I'm going to take the bison with me because we want to start a rancheria with him. And you'll see what I do with him in a second. Or I think I have a plan. We're going to try it out. And let's rock and roll. All right. I don't know if I have to do these in order. like from right to left. I think it's just any one of these has to activate. So let's activate the one that has the bison, because that's the one that's on my mind. What I want to do is I want to basically move him to where a rancheria would form. And the reason I'm saying this is there's a chance right now, if I don't roll better than a 3, that this is going to be the final action of the game, and we're going to have a passage of time. So at minimum, I want to be able to make one rancheria, and this is the guy that's going to do it. So I'm leaving him out. The other one is going to go out and come back. At least I think that's what I want to do. And I'm going to take a gamble that I get one more action turn, okay? That's what I'm hoping to do. So with that said, we get 6 movement points. So let's do our math here. We're going to get 6, and I'm going to take away, no, I'm not taking away any because he's moving out and not coming back home. So where do we want to go? We have 6 movement points. It's going to cost 3 to kill or to hunt a bison. That's what I was going to do. So let's remove 3 because he's going to try to get a bison. So that means I can move 3 spaces away, 1, 2, 3, from our starting location. And remember, we can go through enemy bases, no problem. So what I'm going to do is, unlike last time, I'm going to go this way. 1, 2, 3 to here. And then we're going to hunt this bison and capture it. And then that's where the rancheria is going to be in Lower Arkansas, in the 6th spot. So that's my plan. All right. Next up is I have these 2 captives. So I could try to do a trade right now with these and at least get 2 food out of the possibility that a passage of time is happening now. But I don't like the idea because it's not like we lose the captives over the passage of time. So I can always trade later. And then what I can do is I can just go get a bison or something and at least have some population points that way. And the captives themselves are worth the population points. So I can spend those as if it was food. It's just not as efficient as food. So if it backfires on me and we have a passage of time, we can just spend captives. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my raid first with him. He has 5 movement points. So again, we're going to go out and back. So that's 2 movement points. So I'm going to get to raid 3 times. And I'm going to raid one of these guys 3 times. So I think the one I'm going to go after is this one right here. And let's do it. So for the first raid, Bob's going to roll. And of course, I never roll well in this game. I haven't rolled well yet. And let me check real quick. Yeah, we're just drawing 2. We're going to draw 2 counters. All right, so here we go. First one's an AP, and the other one's a success. So the AP, of course, is going to hurt us. The success goes in Bob's spot. So we get to take a captive. So I'm going to take that and just set it there for now. Okay, we're going to raid again. Oh, wait, hold on. A ravage counter comes out on the tribe. Now, if the tribe ever has 3, it's removed from play. So I have to be careful because I want one to be there in case the passage of time occurs. So let's raid a second time. This is Bob's roll. And of course we fail again. So we have to draw 2. And here we go. 3 more APs and another success comes out. And I will make that another captive. All right, so another Ravage token comes out. Now what I could do is I could use my 3rd guy to raid, and in doing so I would get a Ravage token on another one, because if I get a 3rd Ravage token on this, I'm destroying this tribe. There's a part of me that's not sure I want to do it, but I only have 1 extra movement point to do anything with, so I'm going to go ahead and do it, and let's see if I... So I'm going to roll for Bob, and I finally rolled a 1. And this has never happened so much, so I got to check now. So if it's less than his medicine, I get 1 counter. If it's less than half of his medicine, I get 2. Well, his medicine was 4, so it's less than half, because half of it is 2. So I get 2 bonus counters. I get to draw 4 counters. Yay. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I see 3 successes there and another AP. So this is awesome. I get 3 successes. And man, I wish I could do a planning phase now. All right, so we're going to take a captive. That's the last one for 1. And I think the only other things I can take is a horse. So then I will take 2 horses. So we got ourselves quite the haul here. And yes, we're returning back. So got some extra horses and some captives. And yes, I put a 3rd Ravage token on. So I'm putting these back and the tribe is destroyed. So we're playing a risky game here because now I still don't have a Ravage token anywhere. So this last guy, my plan was maybe to trade with him, but now I'm not going to. I'm going to raid. So we're going to raid this guy here. This one. And so it's 2 movement points to go out and back. So if I start at 6, I drop to 4, and we're going to go ahead and raid there. And there is no Bob, so I don't roll for Bob. And it's only a strength 1, so I'm only drawing 1 token. And so I have 4 tries. Here's the first one. I already got a success, and I can't take anything but a horse, so I will take that. And a Ravage token is going on him. All right, so now I am down to 3 movement points left. And so, and this success, by the way, goes out of the game. I'm going to do another one. We're running out of success tokens. Oh, we got 1. That's also going out of the game. I get another horse, and now a 2nd Ravage token is going on. And I am down to 2 movement points left, and I'm going to stop. So this guy has many horses, and he's actually sitting on 3 horses. So what I can do, and by the way, this one's finished. So what I can do is I can go back to the base with my horses. The problem is if I do another planning step, this guy's going to get eliminated. If I could move him to start a rancheria, it's just that I don't have any food with him. So I probably should have taken the bison with this guy. But I'm not going to have any food, so he'll start a rancheria with only a 1 strength, which means he's susceptible to attacks or whatever. It could be a problem, but we're bringing horses with us. They're tradable, it's just it takes action points. Ooh. Now, my plan was I wanted to trade. So if I trade all these dang, so let's say we get another round or another turn. I wanted to trade the captives to get a whole bunch of food, right? Trade is a action step. But now I'm very attracted to this planning. But the reason I'm attracted to the planning is look at this nonsense. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 successes here. Another planning will send my medicine guys through the roof. But during the passage of time, you roll a die and then they all get screwed. So maybe it's not as great as I think it is. Okay, I'm going to return home with the horses. So I'm going to return home and I'm finished. And this guy's finished too. If we did do a planning thing with both of these guys finished, I will lose the 1 strength unit. So we just got to bear that in mind. The planning step doesn't really do anything for us. But those successes give us a crap ton of medicine bumps. Now what I could do is then, oh, that's true. So if my Paraibo is at level 6 medicine, I can roll a die, and no matter what I roll, I'm going to get bonus actions. And then I can get a bunch of free AP from that. Or get some culture or military points. It's not a bad idea. There's a lot of good things we can try here. So let's not worry about that. We got to make sure we can finish this. So right now we're on a 3. So if I roll a 1, 2, or 3, basically it's going to go to passage of time. So 4, 5, or 6 is what we're hoping for here. And it was a 2. So it goes to passage of time, which is exactly what we were worried about. So do I regret this? No, I'm okay. I'm okay. All right, so we got to play this out, though. We're not done. We're not at passage of time yet. So all of our resources get relinquished. That's here. So this guy comes off. He comes off. Bob's your uncle. Horses galore. And we have all the captives in the game. There. Okay. So now we got to roll for finished bands. So if I roll 2 or less, we're going to give them a free action. And of course I rolled a 1, so they get to take a free action. So let's roll. I rolled a 5, which is the west. And then this is a 2, and the war gets flipped over to a culture, which is worse. Oh, so the free action, of course, is going to be settle. So we're going to roll things up here, and the settle's going to happen. And the settle is going to put a yellow token right there, and then the bison gets removed. And just a refresher, the settle has to go along the yellow lines. And there's already tribes here, so he has to go that way, towards us. Okay, we don't want to roll west here. So we're going to roll to see if they get bonus action points. We already know they have a bunch, and they get 3 more. I'm not surprised. There's a whole bunch of success tokens out of the game. Now, we just can't roll a 3, 4, or 5, which every time I say what we should roll, we never roll it. And every time I say we can't roll this, we do. So let's say this. We can't roll a 6. This game sucks. Okay, the West is going, and they are ruining our day. Well, they're not ruining it, but they're making it miserable. Okay, so first thing they're going to do is spend 4 AP to ruin our culture. And because they built that settlement, they're reducing our culture by 2 instead of 1, and we no longer have enough points to buy the effing card. So, the dice is just absolutely ruining our plan. Now, not having this card, does that make our day worse? Yes, it does. Because without the card, we can't get rid of the enemy bands. So now the enemy bands are going to be ruining our military points. This is bad. This is like, maybe we should start over bad. I don't know. I mean, I haven't played this enough to tell you with confidence if this is quit-worthy, but this was very bad. Everything we wanted to do, well, we did some of the things we wanted to do, but every time when the dice mattered, it failed us. Okay, so the next one is peace. And that's an interesting one, because that means we're going to be able to trade with them, I think. So peace with a enemy settlement. Let's try this. Place the peace counter in an active enemy square space. If it's east, we place it in a southern east space. All right, so the peace comes off the board, And we're gonna put it right here on that settlement. So we now have a piece with this settlement. Next up is 3 action points for settle. And settle, oh, you know what? I'm screwing up. This goes on the board. We don't get to put it right on the bottom, directly on the bottom. It goes on the board that way because they come back in reverse order. Okay, so settle is happening again. And this time, they're going here and killing that bison. So, yeah, the west is causing us some problems. And then we have 3 for a subjugate, which isn't going to happen. And that's all of the action points. So now, as you can see, the culture is right at the top. So they're just getting ready to screw us over. Next turn. Okay, so now I think we get to, we start at the top, there's no war column, and we go to the operation selection, and it has to be passage of time because that's the step we're on. So we're opening it up and let's follow the passage of time steps, which I'm very unhappy about because we can't buy that card. Okay, mark all bands as finished, or as unfinished. So this is the first step. And I'm marking the one on the board as unfinished as well. Okay, player may spend resource counters from in-play rancherias to create new bands. So the first band is going to be a 1 strength band, and we can spend 1 population point to create it. Do I want to do that? Oh, this is actually a tough choice. See, all those captives, if I can just go to a trade, I can turn all those into food and then make some serious bling. But now we're going to have war bands coming after us. War columns coming after us. And it would be nice to get a 3rd band so I can have another 1 strength. I'm going to sure. I'm going to create 1. 1 strength. There we go. Okay. Player may spend resource counters from any in-play bands to increase the strength. Each population spent increases band by 1. All right, so I have this 1 strength band that's ready to build the rancheria. And as you know, he has 2 bison with him. So I'm going to spend both bison to turn him into a 3 strength. So I'm going to replace the 1 with a 3. And then here, I'm going to spend 1 captive to turn this one into a 3. And I'm going to leave the other 2 at a 1. So I'd like to have 2 really mobile guys and 1 very powerful guy. That's what I'm going to do. All right. And then I still have 3 captives I can trade to get some food for later. Or trade goods. Okay, so now we get to place our new rancheria. I'm going to go ahead and put B out. And then this guy comes in with his horse. And so we have 1 dude there. And remember, I can always move from this rancheria to the other one. So a really cool idea is, for example, when I have a lot of successes and I want to do a planning step, and I don't want to reduce my guys by 1, I can just bring back the Bob guy and then move the other ones to another rancheria and make them over there unfinished. So that way, this particular one, when it does the planning step, it's not hurting them. So there's some shenanigans we can try to do. But the new rancheria is given a Paraibo medicine rating equal to the new rancheria's band strength. So that's the reason why the 3 strength was important, because the Paraibo is 3. Okay. And if there's a bob counter, there isn't, so the new bob is going to be 0. Okay, we can voluntarily retire a bob with medicine greater than 1 in order to increase the Paraibo equal to the retired bob's medicine. So the idea there is, since that's a 4, I can set this to a 4 and retire him. But I hate that step, because then the very next step we have to roll a die to see if it gets reduced. It's so ridiculous. But that's the reason why I like the spirituality card, because it sort of negates that in a way, because you get to roll 2 dice, so that you got double the chances to mitigate that. Okay, we're not voluntarily retiring anybody. So now we're going to do a headman death check. And roll a die for every one. And let's see what happens. So we roll a die for this guy who just got appointed. It's a little weird. He just got appointed and we're already seeing if he dies. All right, so I rolled a 4 and he actually survives it just fine. You would hope that he gets to go up by 1, but he doesn't. So now we got Bob with a strength of 4. So this one I'm concerned about. And of course I roll a 2, so Bob drops to strength 2. And this guy's a strength 3, and I rolled a 5, so our Paraibo actually survives. So now we got to roll for the 0 bob. I rolled a 4, and I think I divide it by 2. Yes. So this new bob is also a 2. Both bobs, Bob and Rob. So Bob's a 2 and Rob's a 2. All of these go back in the cup. All of these go back in the cup. Each tribe or settlement with 1 or more ravaged is removed. -1 military point if no tribe or settlement is removed. There we go. So this tribe is removed. And technically speaking, just like last game, we have now met the victory condition. Even though we're not at the point where a victory check is going to be made, we have complete control of Upper Arkansas. No, we don't. Oh, you... Whew. It's this. This ruined our day. Oh, come on. We're gonna do something about that. We're raiding the crap out of him. Okay. Every peace and ally counter on the map now gets rolled. So that one that's at peace, we rolled a 3. And if it's greater than the AP cost, we lose the peace. So actually we're fine. So we're still at peace with the 1 settlement. And then we randomly select a territory. So let's do that. I'll take the 2 even though it was on its side. And what it's saying is we get to place a bison into an empty space. Well, there isn't an empty space there. So then we remove a bison from there and place it somewhere else. And what's really funny is I didn't really want to do that because what I rolled was a territory that I like. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this bison because it was 2 spaces away. And I'll go ahead and put it there, which is only 1 space away. So we'll do that. And sorry, just trying to get the camera right. Okay, and then we're just getting rid of these development cards. We had a lot more actions the last time before we had to do passage of time, and that made a big difference. The fact that the passage of time happened so much quicker this time, it actually hurt us quite a bit. Okay, we can purchase a culture card. Screw you, game. Sorry, that was supposed to be my inside voice. Okay, place operations at the start, and this goes down by 1. So I think somewhere in here, I didn't read it, we're supposed to get 3 new development cards. So let's do that, and then I think we're supposed to reveal them. Yes. So let's do this. First one. End of UT Alliance. We just had this one. When revealed, place one available tribe into Upper Arkansas, Area 1. Come on. Remove any bison to stock and displace any rancheria from this space. If no such space, rancheria is destroyed. Whew. All right, so a tribe is appearing right next to us in Upper Arkansas. So our control over the region just got put into dispute. Tribe in Area 1 of Upper Arkansas does not count against Comanche control. Oh, there we go. So it doesn't hurt us to be there, but only while this card's in play. So we do got to get rid of it eventually. So that just means we're going to get some nice little raids. Next, spend 1 AP to take into hand. We can place 2 Ravage counters on any tribe or 1 Ravage counter on each of 2 tribes. If discarded during passage of time, the passage of time advances basically twice. So it'll advance once because this card is being discarded. So what it's saying is I need to figure out how to buy this card, or otherwise the passage of time is going to advance once from this and advance once because of passage of time. So it'll advance twice, potentially. So it'll not necessarily be bad if we think we met the victory condition and we actually want to accelerate that. But that's what that is. And here, the French traders. Spend 1 AP, play from hand during take actions to conduct a trade action. But no AP cost. Ooh, that's really nice. With active band and an empty round map space of Lower Arkansas. Okay, Red River or Colorado. Active band may spend up to 2 bison and or horse counters for an equal number of gun counters in this trade. So this is a nice way to get guns. That's an interesting one. But we need AP, and we have 0 AP. And our Paraibo is not any better than a 3 right now. Okay, so now we go to the operation phase. And I'm going to go ahead and end this video. What time is it? Ooh, I don't know what time it is. Don't have... Some of you made fun of the fact that I always had a watch. And of course, now I don't have it. I don't know what time it is, but I'm going to go ahead and end this video. And I think I'll be able to do another one. So... thanks for watching. Stay awesome.